Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Power of the Story podcast. Today, I have with us Bryan Smith. He is raised from Queens, New York. Excuse me. He is gifted in so many areas. Trust and believe me when I say that. Anything from ranging from sports to music to writing. Of course, while we're here, his amazing, not just one, but multiple books. But his biggest gift is giving back with his passion to helping people all across, especially his community. So thank you, Bryan, for being here. I'm so happy that you were able to take time out of your schedule to be with us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, man. Honor to definitely be a part of this. Like-minded people coming together, to venture out and really get the word out to what they're doing. So definitely appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here. So first of all, with that introduction, you range anything from sports to writing. That's a large range. So how do you even come up with, where does that passion come from? How are you able to figure that out?
Well, funny enough, to be versed in and gifted to do different things, sometimes I look at it as a gift and a curse, because you'll have your hand in so many things at times. It's like you get an idea for this, you start this. Then you get an idea for this and you start this. And you kind of never get to really focus or finish one thing because you got your hand in so many different things. I want to attest that to, being born and raised in New York. So everybody that lives there knows the hustle and bustle of New York. Everything is always get up and go in fast motion. So it's always like your interest peaks, quicker than normal. You see something else that's shiny. Oh, what's over there? Or something like that. What's over there? So that will be the curse part of it. The gift side of it is there's not many things that, I really will try to do and not be able to do it. Or especially if I don't, just give me a minute to explain how it's supposed to go. I'm going to catch on that quickly. So, always just wanting to just do anything that pertaining to, giving joy to others and just kind of entertaining and put a smile on faces. That's always, been a passion of mine. So anything in regards to that, I'm always going to try to be a part of it.
I love that. So as writers, all writers, I would definitely say we're creative people. So as a creative, a lot of us deal with what you just said. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of things that we want to dip into, that we're very multifaceted. So what advice would you give to somebody that feels as if they have that blessing and that curse at the same time? How would they navigate that?
The biggest thing, I would say, you have to find a way to zone in and narrow that focus. Because, again, as great as it may be to say, hey, I have all these different things I'm into, I got so many things that I'm creating and doing at once, again, it starts to put a stagnation or a stalemate on finishing those certain things where you may have had an idea with this, you're gung-ho, you're going, then something else sparks here. Now you got to remember, hey, where was I going with this before? Now you have to try to relight that passion or reignite that fire that had that started in the first place. So I would definitely say pick one thing, stick to that, complete it before moving on. But if you have, I don't want to even say it's an issue, but if you have that idea, what I'm pretty sure that you've dealt with as well, when a new idea comes in, just write it down. Just leave it so you don't lose this idea. Get back to what you're doing, finish that, and then tailor back to see what's next. So basically just write it so you don't forget it, but focus on trying to complete one before moving on to the other.
I love that. So first of all, can you tell the audience how many books you have?
So currently right now I have 3 that are out right now, self-published. I have 2 that are a fictional story and one that was more so like a memoir. Speaking in terms of my experience, being raised in a single parent home and, obviously again, recognizing that I'm coming from New York, you kind of imagine the kind of obstacles and hurdles you deal with living in a city like that, or the experiences you may come across like that and the temptations and, the focus on trying to, with your one parent out there trying to be the breadwinner, keep house at home, keeping you in line, but also trusting that they're instilling enough in you that you know how to act when they're not around. So, trying to navigate that. And a lot of times it doesn't always go the right way. You're subject to a lot of things you see in the streets, temptations, whether it be girls, whether it be street life, you're curious about life, a lot of things because you're learning on your own. And sometimes it may not go the route that you want it to go. So I just kind of gave my take on what it was like for me, and not necessarily pointing the finger at the lack of father figure in the home, because we get a lot of that, right? So I try to create something where it's more so that we're trying to figure out, well, what was it that made your dad or whoever your father, figure in your life was supposed to be, what made them make that decision that I wasn't going to stick around, right? Because it's easy to just go, hey, you're a deadbeat, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, your responsibilities, and you just ran, right? But, what did they experience as a kid? Because maybe they didn't know, when that experience came, I'm about to be a father, what does that mean? What does that look like? And they never knew. I had the similar thing, but my focus was, hey, I know what I felt like, so I'm going to make sure I'm not going to do that same thing. But again, let's uncover the psychological behind it. What made them make that decision ultimately? And, sometimes when you seek for the truth, you'll get an answer where it has you like, dang, I didn't even think of it like that. And you kind of have a little bit more compassion to what they may have been going through, and then try to work on, kind of putting that bridge back together again.
That's real. Yeah, we definitely have to navigate that learning curve.
Right.
All on our own. Everybody goes through it differently. And so I'm looking at you right now. You have it on your chest. You have it on your head. Respect the journey. I want to hear a little bit more. The audience wants to hear a little bit more. Who is Bryan? Like, what is the background? How did you get to where you are right now?
So, funny enough, speaking in terms of those obstacles you may come across, I want to say a lot of people are not too knowledgeable of my path and journey where I went to so far. You get the glitz and glams of social media sometimes, and you allow people to see what you want them to see, and some of the more personal things or some of the more vulnerable moments you don't really share that too much, because we know how crazy social media can be right now. So my path, was a little bit of a struggle a bit. Didn't finish high school. I had a scenario where I was going out for the high school team, and funny enough, my mom had bought me a new pair of sneakers to practice in. And we had to have a physical from the doctor. I had the physical, and I kicked the paper inside the box under my bed. Didn't realize it because I'm in such a rush to get out the house. I get to the tryout, and the coach says, can't try out because we need this paper to make sure you're okay to play. So, of course, I was devastated and hurt because, the way my youth started out, it was, this kid is going to be something special. He got NBA destined in his future. It was a lot of that, you hear that around. So not really knowing how to deal with that disappointment, for like a real disappointment for the first time in my life, I shut down. I was like, all right, I don't want to play no more. So, my mom being the headstrong woman that she is, she's like, nah, that's not going down like that. We didn't do all this running around, and getting you prepared just for you to quit like that. So she went up to the school, mom style, and spoke to the coach, which for me at the time, very embarrassing moment, because you don't want your mom going up to the school speaking on your behalf. But nonetheless, she did that. The coach said, you know what, tell him to come back. We'll give him a try on that second day. I went, didn't personally feel like I played my best, and at that point, it was just like everything as far as school-wise or playing basketball-wise, everything for some reason just was like, I don't want to do it anymore. I quit. So I stopped going to school. Kind of had that stint of kind of figuring out, like, who are you outside of not playing basketball? And, I had really no direction. So I want to say it took me about maybe 2 or 3 years after where it was like, you got to do something. You can't just be sitting around, no high school diploma or really having no direction to do anything. So I made a note to say, yo, I'm going to go after my GED. And ultimately in love, I took the test, aced it on my first go. And then obviously that was an exciting moment. It was like, I can remember, it was like 11 p.m. at night, looked in the mailbox, got the paper saying you passed, woke my mom up. She thinking something wrong is going on, waking her up out of a dead sleep. But it was so ecstatic to say, it wasn't your traditional way of graduating high school, but it was still equivalent, to that. And at that point, it was just me trying to really focus on, all right, what's next from here? And it even still took a few years after that, still not even having an idea what I wanted to do. And that's where it blossomed, the time, either writing music, I DJ'd for a little while, community tournaments here and there, just trying to really just still stay active and stay a part of things. And it wasn't until moving to, when I came to North Carolina back in 2016, where, out here is a lot slower than New York. So you get a lot of time to think. And you're stuck in your thoughts a lot of times. And ultimately, it was just like I had time to really look back on my history and everything I've done since then. And it was like, where are you going from here? At this point, you have a child of your own. You're now the example you're setting for him on what to do, as he's going through his trials and tribulations growing up. And ultimately, it was just, just self-checking myself, looking in the mirror, and was like, what you're doing is not it. And the only one that's going to really fix that is you. And ultimately, that sparked the idea of, I still have love for the game of basketball. I still have the love of, wanting to help people. How do I put my footprint in that? I was able to partner up with one of my good friends, Jamal Long. He's over out in Greensboro, knowing that he used to coach youth basketball. And I was like, well, how do I mesh what I'm trying to do with what you do and bring that together, ultimately birthing Respect the Journey, which was us mentoring kids in the community, utilizing basketball as a tool, but showing them how they go hand in hand. What the things you're learning on the court is the same things you can utilize off the court as well, but emphasizing the basketball part is just a privilege, right? The first thing is, how do we step out here and be upstanding, citizens, do what we're supposed to do, move how we're supposed to move, and then you'll see how all these doors open up for you with everything else, how it falls into place. So, obviously outside of having my own kids, my main focus was to make sure that same avenue or steps that I went through, give you the advice so that you don't have to deal with that, or at least not even so much that you're not going to deal with it, because you will, but try to be a voice to, you can come talk to me about it because I know exactly what you're probably dealing with. Try this, or this is some of the advice I can give, and then you take it from there.
And so how long have you been doing this, Respect the Journey?
So ultimately we're coming up on about, I want to say 4 years, starting it back in 2018, but we became an official nonprofit in the state of North Carolina in 2020. So, there's still a lot of things that we're learning as far as becoming a nonprofit, all the proper paperwork and things like that, because I will state a lot of the things we're doing, we're learning on the fly. So, we still don't have, all the ducks in a row, so to speak. But officially getting that name in the state of North Carolina to be recognized was 2018.
And so when you just said that a lot of things that you're doing, you're learning on the fly. Going back to also what you were talking about when you decided to get your GED, you were like, okay, I got to do this. It seems that a lot of what you're doing and you've done is I got to figure it out as I'm progressing forward. I don't necessarily always have somebody to tell me exactly what I should or need to be doing. How have you been able to grow that mindset or that skill, really that mindset and the skill, to be able to continuously know when you need to essentially take everything a step further? Right. And I got to start figuring out how to put these pieces together.
Well, I will say that's always kind of been a characteristic of mine, or just part of my personality altogether. I don't know if I can attest that to just being a Leo. So we think we run the world as it is anyway, and we do. But nonetheless, I guess it was more so just like feeling like it's just like a fire sign. Like I always feel like I can handle it. I can handle it. And, that's not always a good thing. You gotta sometimes take it back a notch because, like the saying is, you cannot be a leader without knowing how to be a follower first. And even as I'm speaking to this right now and just saying a lot of things that we were doing with Respect the Journey have been our own path and what we've just been learning on the fly, you still got to take that time to step back and be like, okay, it's okay to say I don't know what I'm doing, but there is somebody out there that does, that have no problem with sitting down with me and kind of aligning me to what the steps I'm supposed to take. Because, you can learn it, and at that point, you're freestyling. Well, you might be starting something that was supposed to be the last step. You're making that the first step, and then the first step, you're pushing all the way to the last step, not realizing, hey, a minute, I was supposed to do that first. So it's a growing process. It's a maturity thing as well. Even, at 39, knocking on 40, God willing. It's never too late to learn. That's the thing I had to tell myself. I don't know it all. And, even when I'm teaching, even when it comes to my son, I can still be wrong. I'll mention that to him. Hey, I'm giving you what I think, but it could be wrong. You're okay to do your own research also and see what you come up with. But more so, I think it's just a drive to want to, we're envisioning what we see Respect the Journey to be ultimately. And I think the force behind that is like, we see what we want. We know what it can be. Let's get out there and do something so that we can get there. And I think that's what's kind of the driving force behind that.
I think something you just said was very important. You said you have to know that you essentially need to be learning.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of things that a lot of people forget. Once we graduate high school, people graduate college, they stop learning. And there's a whole world to explore. There's so much to learn. And I love that. And I've seen this, within our friendship, that you are always learning. You're trying to figure out how to get to the next level. You're always pushing yourself, right? So, but based off that, what would you say are the top, if you can come up with a top three, your top three things you learned so far from your journey?
Top thing, number one, learning how to listen. Like you said, you can always have the answer, thinking you know the answer, and you haven't even allowed them to finish asking the question yet. So how could you know what I'm trying to hear right now when you don't even know what I'm asking? So listening would be first. Second, it's okay to come to the realization that you don't know. Again, being gun-ho on thinking I can get it done. But again, how do you know that what you're doing is the right thing that you're supposed to be doing? So listening, admitting to when you've hit that wall, because it's okay to say that. And then third, understanding that you can't do everything. Again, I can say, respect the journey, and you can see me promoting and doing everything. I could be working with 4,500,000 people, and y'all never know because you always see Bryan in the forefront saying this, and this. But it doesn't happen without a team of people, of like-minded individuals that's like, I want to see you go far, because you can't be everywhere. You can't do everything on your own. And ultimately, that's a lot of the downfalls you'll see with individuals is thinking mine, and not understanding. But you started out because you wanted it to be a we. You wanted to help everyone. But you can't say I'm someone for the people but I only can do this alone. So recognizing that it takes more than one, takes a village. We've heard that a million times. So shout out to my partner Jamal and my brother Rel as well, that we just brought on to help us with the coaching as well. Just realizing you need a team. You need a solid team. You need a family. You need a unit to really get things done. So just coming to that realization that it's not just about me. It's about what we can do together, and that's how we move forward.
There was something. Your second point, it made me think back to working at Apple. One of the leaders that we both are fond of, she used to always tell me that you don't know what you don't know, and that has continued to stick with me because it makes me more open-minded about just everything in life. Because we truly don't know what we don't know. There's just so much to, as we go back to the previous question, there's just so much to learn. And so you can always fulfill yourself with more information, more learning.
Right.
And then to also just go on your third point, having a team, right? You can't do everything by yourself. At what point do you think a person should start looking for help in other areas? Because, as someone that's self-employed, a writer, a person that's an entrepreneur, whatever it may be, or even if that's just maybe your personality, there's a lot of us that were like, I can get it done. I'm going to do it all done, all by myself. I'm big and bad. But at what point should we be like, all right, let me go ahead and get some help, even if you don't need it?
Right. I think that's something you need to really assess early, because, again, that's a part of, when you're approaching someone, let's say, you're running your business here and you're looking for investors for what you do, right? So you're coming up to them with your proposal, with your business plan, and showing them, why am I going to invest in what you're trying to do, right? And you lay it all out. And you realize, hey, I need, this kind of promotion over here. I need marketing here. I need someone running this. I need someone to, maintenance the gym when I'm not there. I need someone at the offices. There's a lot of different jobs that's going to go into ultimately what you're trying to do. And realizing you as the creator of whatever, the project you're working on is, that's going to take a lot of your time. In our case, we're writing, right? How much time throughout the day are we taking really honing in on this story, on this book? How long? What needs to go in? What does need to go in? And while that's happening, everything else around you still needs to run, to be ready for that day when I go, this is finally finished. Did you have the time to really get everything else in place? You can't. You can't be everywhere at once. And then in particular, in my personal, situation, me being a father of 3 and a husband, right, is my drive and everything that I'm doing taking away from family time. My son's 11. That right there is like at one of those peak ages where he's going to really start learning about himself and, questions about life, questions about him as a man, questions about females. How do I handle this? How do I do that? What do I want to ultimately get into as I grow older? And then as well as my daughters at, 5 and 2, they're still a ways away. But again, am I being pulled away from watching them grow? And, obviously giving time to the wife, because that's important as well. So knowing if I got all of that, going on, there is no possible way for me to be everywhere and do everything. And ultimately all that's going to do is just run me down, which then, again, takes away time from them because, hey, you know what, I'm too tired to go to the park today, or I'm too tired to go out and, shoot hoops, or I'm too tired just to sit here and just talk to you for 5 minutes. You don't want that. End result, you got to look at the bigger picture. By the time it's done, if you're doing everything yourself, do you have enough energy to even celebrate everything that you did at that point? 9 times out of 10, you're going to say no, because, look, we are human. We got to take care of ourselves. We got to have that time to recover, rejuvenate. And if you're not doing that, you're pushing yourself to an early grave. I remember there was a question that I had asked one time. I said, are you grinding or are you digging an early grave? And a lot of people was like, well, what does that mean? And I was like, well, give and take how many hours out of day that you're pushing towards whatever you're working on. And that's cool. You got to have that drive. But by the time you finally get it to where you want it to be, because, again, we always go, all right, it's here now, but dang, I can add that on top of it. But dang, I can add that on top of it, right? And you're going to keep pushing. And before you know it, like I just said, God willing, I'm 40 next year. I'm like, when the hell did that happen? I was just 21 running around acting a fool. Now I'm 40, 3 children. So it's like all this time that I've been grinding. And if I'm still not satisfied after all that grinding, what have I been doing? I'm just, digging myself to the point where I get to the point where I can't even do anything anymore. I can't even celebrate all this hard work I've been doing because I'm so run down. So you just got to be careful at what you put on your plate because you're not going to be able to eat it all.
I think I want to add on to that. So something I started doing, I stopped using the word grind, and I like to use this. Funny, I'm wearing it. I use the word hustle.
There you go.
Because like even when you think about it, thinking like in the sports aspect, the coach blows the whistle. He's going to say hustle to the whistle. He's not going to say grind to the whistle.
Right.
Hustle is essentially just moving with a sense of urgency towards whatever destination you're trying to do. When you're grinding something, you're essentially grinding something down, right?
There you go.
Are you hustling or are you grinding yourself to your grave early?
Right.
I like that little mixture, but I can definitely feel you on that one. I can definitely relate. But going into your books a little bit, right? Because you said 3.
3. Yeah.
Are you working on a 3rd one?
Fourth one. I am. It's actually well, and this is a lot of that. When we talk about that gift and the curse, because you got so many things going on. You kind of stray away from it. So actually the very first fictional story that I put out, which was Karma, but you can also get that on Amazon as well. I'm going to hold that up for the people. That was that first fictional story there, and it was such a great review with the story because I purposely wrote it without having chapters, and it was one where it was more so supposed to be a short story. So I wanted it in a way where you can finish it literally in one sitting to be like, okay, where's the next one, right? Instead of kind of dragging that story along, gave you enough to give you a complete, beginning, middle, and an end. But then it's like, but there could be more added on to that end, which was the emphasis or the reaction that I wanted from the people. So I actually started writing Karma 2, and then in light of, creating other stories and everything that was going on, it's always been getting pushed back. But I did recently, as you can see, actually, if you see the name right there, it says Be the Writer, kind of had a light bulb go off and go, you got all these projects that's just sitting there, right? And every day you opening up and doing something new, but you're forgetting, this particular path that you chose to be on. I ultimately decided going back to school, graduated April of 2021 from FSAIL for creative writing, right? You did all that. And then you're not even really utilizing what you did all that work for. So it was like, all right, you need to kind of not forget things, but kind of assess what's important, what's attainable right now, opposed to what the longevity goal is. And right now, completing these stories that I started is the primary objective now. So for everyone that was asking, Karma 2 is being written as we speak, as well as the script to Karma 1. So we're also trying to see if we can get that finished up and then kind of put that out there as a feeler and see if we can get that shot on screen. So yes, we do have another one in production like right now, getting that put together.
Lovely. So what was the time period between I want to write this first book and actually getting it done? And what were some of the challenges that you had throughout that process?
So Karma, I want to say that started when I lived in New York. So again, we moved 2016, down here to Durham, North Carolina, and finally completed that. So I want to say about two and a half years before that first one was done. Obviously, a lot going on in between, but to finally get it done and then, hit the wall of, all right, now how do I get it out? Because I had it just written down on a manuscript, printed it out, had about 5,000 pages. And hey, you want to read this? Read this for a second and tell me what you think. And trusting that you're giving it to your close friends and whatnot. Yeah, I'm gonna read it. Come over there, and it's the damn cup holder for them when you get to their house. So nonetheless, it was more so just kind of researching like what are the avenues that I can go ahead and produce myself. So shout out to my good buddy Sefadine. He's one of my homies back in New York. I know he's a motivational speaker as well, and he had just produced a book for himself. It was like an 8-page book. But nonetheless, it was, hammering and hitting home on all the points that he wanted to make and what his message was about. So I just asked him, like, yo, how did you go about, getting your book out there? Because I know you did everything yourself. You self-published. And he kind of just gave me the steps to what to do. And ultimately, we kind of, we made it happen. Gave me the avenues on how to get the cover page made, which was very simple. And once I actually saw the cover page, it was like, all right, this is coming together now. And then ultimately, when I got that first copy in hand, it was like, wow, I did this. Like, this is what I did. And to get the response that I got, and what was cool about it too was it wasn't just responses from people I know that's just going to, blow smoke and just give me well wishes just because you've known me all your life or because we're good people. It was legit like, no, this was a good story. Like, I could not put it down. Like, I had to finish it the whole time. Even if I closed it, I opened it right back up to go see what was going to happen next. So it was definitely a good feeling because it was, again, like I said, jumping back and forth between this idea and idea to finally have something completed and finished, and then see, it come to fruition and everybody enjoy it. That was definitely a dope feeling.
So you're writing these books, you have a nonprofit, you're impacting so many people around you within your community. Who is inspiring you? Like, who do you look up to?
That was always the biggest thing, right? I always looked at where does this energy come from? Like, who did I see that it's like, yeah, I need to emulate that individual. And I want to, obviously, you shout out your parents, shout out my mom, Dukes, because that's her spirit and that's her nature. Shout out to my grandmother, that's her spirit, that's her nature, and that's how we was always raised to help your brother, your sister out there, help the people that you care about, help the people that you don't know, because you never know how that comes around full circle. And then just being blessed with, throughout my life to come across, individuals that had that same mindset. And even if I'm not someone that reaches out all the time to say, hey, I'm watching what you're doing and I appreciate that, I study from afar and I can still appreciate what you're doing. Even if I'm not letting you know, there's a bunch of people that I can sit there and say, just to let you know, I saw what you did with that and that inspired me to get up and go do what I'm doing. I.e., you, my brother, you are one of those individuals as well. Because I go, there's a saying that goes, it didn't happen to you, it happened for you, right? And, we just so happened to come across working at Apple at the same time. And it wasn't even a long period of time, but it was enough, for us to, grow a bond in that short window. then obviously we come through the pandemic where we didn't even see each other. Like when you decided to walk, I didn't even know, right? And it was like, it was weird. Like, wait a minute, what? So, but it was still, you know, that we grew, you know, a relationship and a bond in that short window where you're someone I'm saying I'm going to click that follow button because I'm interested in seeing, you know, what he's got going on in his life. I test to my basketball coaches. I test to a couple of motivational speakers that I follow. Nehemiah Davis, I follow him now because of you. You know, Eric Thomas. You know, just watching certain people that leads to somebody else. So it's just a lot. It's a plethora of people I can take bits and pieces of and go, this is the reason why. And I see the great feeling you get by saying I help someone, and not necessarily you're doing it because you want something in return. It's just a good feeling to always say it's always the right time to do the right thing. Like this, you can't give any other feeling that's going to feel better than to say I did that because that was the right thing to do at that moment, and then that helped that individual or those group of people, you know, or whatever the case may be. And not to be long-winded, there was a short video, promo video you posted. This was a long time ago. It was a podcast that you ran. I cannot remember the dude's name that worked with us. He moved to D.C., I think it was.
Chase.
Yes, Chase. Sorry, Chase. There was a... Can't ever forget that. He was another ball of energy, too. Dope dude. You guys did a promo video, and you were doing your podcast, and y'all were telling stories about the trials and tribulations you went through with track, and then him talking about, you know, what he was going through. And I swear to God, when I saw that video, I forget it, what was it, like 30 seconds, almost like a minute or so? No, it wasn't even that long. I literally played that video about 30 times in a row a day. Like, I would watch it over and over and over. I swear to God, no lie. Even to the point at times it would almost bring me to tears hearing what you guys went through, where I could align with some of those tribulations that you went through, where you was like, look, money was low. Had no idea what I was going to do. We got rent due. We got this due. We got that due. And I got to do this, got to do that. I'm not, you know, running track anymore. I felt that saying I'm not playing basketball anymore. So it's just certain things that I attach to where I'm like, but then look what they decided to go do. Were they going to sulk about it, or were they going to get up and go make something happen? Look at where we're standing right now. So, again, like I said, I don't always reach out to everybody and say, you know, thank you for the inspiration that you do, but you, my brother, you are one of those individuals that have done that for me, and you probably didn't even know that. So, yeah. I
appreciate that, man. I love that answer, though, because it makes me think about, you know how we've always say it takes a village to raise a child, right? But I think that still continues as we become adults.
Right.
Like, the same way you said that it's not one person that truly inspires you, it's a community of people that inspires you.
Right.
And as we grow older, right, there's always going to be different stages that we continue to learn and grow and just, like, shift into. And so as we do that, I feel as a person, we always need to have people that we are looking up to, that are inspiring us, are continuing to challenge ourselves to find ourselves in the journey that we're currently in. So, you know, I definitely love that answer because I agree with you. Like, I'm the type of person also that I don't have one person that just this. I can say Bryan inspires me, right? I have multiple people that, you know, I follow on social media that I met that I see their journey and I'm like, man, that's amazing. And I take bits and pieces of what they're doing that I like that I see they're doing, and I put it into myself. And that's how I continue to discover who I am on, you know, a daily and weekly basis. And, you know, it definitely sounds as if that you've been doing the same thing. And that's why you're in the space that you are right now. Right. That, you know, you had 3 books. You know, that 4th one going to be knocking around the corner soon. You're, you know, have a nonprofit that you are pouring directly into these kids' lives. Speaking of which, how old are the kids within the, you know, your organization?
So when it started, like I said, this was 2018 when we got it started. So it was just my son and you know, his group of friends around the community. So I want to say our lowest age was, let's see, 11 now, about 7, 8, and we graduated up until about 15, 16. So our main focus was to and that's just how it kind of panned out with the different age groups that we had. But they were all in the same community, so that's why they were all, so close. But it was more so to try to get them early, at the age where we know we'll have their mind, we'll have their attention to listen, and then that's leading up into the point where now, they're high school. The next step for some of them is going to be college in the next 3 years. So it's now knowing that we've built that relationship and that trust with them, that when it gets to the time for them to make those decisions, they're going to call coach. Like, they have our personal numbers. They call us any time of night. Half the time I regret that. But, they call us about every little thing that's going on. And it was just to have the feeling to know that, you have us in your corner, and that feeling that we get that they trust us. And then to even get, shout outs from the parents if we see them out in the street, or, just a random text from them just saying, my son really loves you guys. They really love what you do for him. Like, I'm so happy that, you guys came into their lives. Like, there was one of the kids that graduated. He had a double ceremony, actually, because his school is a continuation up until high school, but they acknowledged when they graduated going on to 9th grade. And, I didn't think I was going to be able to make it to the graduation. Ultimately, I would be able to get there. And, excuse me, and just the elation and the gratitude on the face of even just his mom and dad to go, wow, like, you didn't have to show up and you made a way to show up and you got here. And it was like, it wasn't I don't need to thank you for that. I know it would have meant the world for him to have one of the coaches show up and be there for him. And, you see me, you see Jamal. You see Jamal, you see me. So we hand in hand in that. But this was just to let you know, like, we're not just, fly by in the night or flash in the pan. Like, after we're done with your, with this basketball tournament or whatever the case is, we move on to the next. No, we're here for the long haul. Like, the basketball, let's just have some fun with that. But I care more so how far you're going to go in life. And then, are you going to pick up whatever you learn from us and go continue this work, whatever avenue it takes you to be? So, yeah, that's what it's all about.
I love that. So, last question I have for you today, because I think, personally, we can go on forever. we probably could.
Absolutely.
My last question is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to everybody listening right now?
Man. Be truthful to yourself. That's first and foremost, right? You can, like we said, we're in a day of technology. We're in a day and age of social media. And again, you're only going to show what you want to show, right? You want to be truthful with yourself, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, when them lights are out, it's over, and you're home, you got to stare in that mirror and go, when I was out there in that world today, did I show them who I really was, or did I just show them who I wanted them to believe? Because as soon as that falters just a little bit, they're going to let you have it, right? And you've been so immersed in being this individual that you wanted them to see. The individual that you are may not be able to handle what's going to come with that. But you're staying true and being zoned into who you are and yourself. You throw whatever you got, because I showed you me. So, whatever you got going on, you're going to have to deal with that. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have to come into the realization, you're you. You're not anybody else. You're just you. Stay true to that. Own up to the fact if you've got issues going on or things of that, own that. That's a part of your journey to ultimately birth who you're going to be as a human being, as a child, as an adult, until your time is gone. And then what was your legacy when you left here, right? Did you do everything in your truth and own about it what was you and not others? So stay true to you in whatever you're doing.
Hey, drop the mic on that one. Hey, nothing else to say. So, Bryan Smith, ladies and gentlemen, but before we head out, how can everybody run down your 3 books for us? How can they find you, and how can they support you?
All right. So all 3 copies you can purchase from Amazon. Like we said, we have Karma. I don't know if we can see that. Okay. Fictional story. We have Son of a. Now you see the picture of me and my mom when I was younger. So this was the memoir about growing into a single parent household and what that curtailed, and just my outlook on a lot of situations. And then currently right now, which is circulating the streets, Fool Me Twice, which I'm very proud of this one. This one actually took the longest out of all of them to really get that put together. It's in a hardcover, so I had to put a little extra touch on this one. Again, all three are on Amazon. When you search the name of the titles of the book, just put Bryan A. Smith. You'll see them pop up right in your Amazon. But if you would like a signed copy or anything like that, you hit me directly, and then I can ship one out to you signed. But if Amazon is your cup of tea, you can order right from there. It's greatly appreciated as well. And if you do order from Amazon, go ahead and leave that comment in the bottom, just letting me know what you think. Social media platforms, as you see the name, Be The Writer _ sorry, Jesus Christ. It's more of like a rebranding of, anything that I'm doing with my writing. Before it was, hey, let me just use my name, Bryan Smith. But it was just like, what is the reasoning, or what is it that I want to leave with the people after reading something of mine, whether it be fictional, whether it be, something you're going to use in life. So Be The Writer. The emphasis behind Be The Writer is control the narrative. You control your story. You know you better than anybody. So you control that narrative of what you're writing or what you're putting out there. So Be The Writer _ on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm trying to get better at TikTok. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm the worst when it comes to that. But that's the day and age to reach the people. So Be The Writer on all those platforms. Then again, if you get the pleasure to know me personally, I ain't going to put it out there, but you'll know where to find me on Facebook. Right, can't try. A lot of crazies out there. But Be The Writer _ on pretty much every platform. That's where you can find me at. And also every Thursday from 7:30 to 9:30, you can catch me on YouTube Live or Facebook Live on Respect the Journey podcast with my partner Jamal and my sis Miss Dom. But we just giving you some more insights, such as what we kind of went through right here today.
Love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time out your day to be on here with us. Again, you guys, this is another episode of the Power of the Story podcast. We definitely hope you guys took some notes, picked up some gems from this. And other than that, we will catch you guys in the very next episode.